Hello and welcome to episode 122 of the Paropod. You're here with your host Mark and Owen as per usual.
Back to basics.
We're peeling back the layers. We've gone back to the most fucking basic formula. Liam's not here today, unfortunately. He'll be back, I'm sure, soon.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. He's no longer with us in the most literal sense. And this is not a special double bill episode. We do, however, have a recommended film which we will be getting onto later in the episode. Greener Grass from 2019, 18? 2018, which we were supposed to talk about last episode, but we were so in deep talking about nuclear war and feminism that we forgot to talk about it.
Because I actually cut out the bit where I cut out all mentions of Greener Grass in that episode.
It's been scrubbed from history.
Yeah, because we did intend on doing it, but by the time that we were gonna get onto it, it was 12 o'clock. We were 2 hours in. And still had listener questions to do. And I don't think there was an easy way to fucking jump from nuclear war onto surreal suburban comedy.
Yeah, there's no springboard there.
No.
So we just abandoned ship.
I was also fucking talking with the 3 mic setup is a fucking pain in the hole.
Yeah, it really is. There's no real way around it, though.
No, unless
there definitely is technologically a way around it.
We could try out sometime just doing it all off the Blue Yeti, but
actually no, that is like a really obvious solution.
But I don't know, because there's always going to be a little bit of an echo. So
we'd have to get really close to each other.
Yeah, like I'd have to sit there. We'd have to all touch knees and hold hands.
Yeah, that sounds
cool. But maybe what happened is this is going to be a very bad podcast material. But we could sit really, really, really close like this, and then the other person could sit across our knees,
us, and then we could observe. Yeah.
Just have the guest sitting on our lap.
It doesn't work if you talk into these. No, you're gonna have to be directly into the
microphone.
Yeah, directly into the microphone, because this is a different kind of mic. I can't remember what kind of mic this is called, but
that was 2.5 years ago. I can't remember what the microphone.
The Blue Yeti is a condenser mic. I don't know what this is. It's the other kind of mic.
Dynamic?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Fucking
dynamic.
Yeah, aerodynamic mic.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, Owen, you had a very busy week.
I did.
Very busy week. What happened? Tell us. Fill us in. Give us a few highlights.
I went to the All Together Now festival down in Waterford.
Ooh.
It's a great old festival.
Yeah.
Great old festival. I think I've come to the realization that when I go to music festivals, I'm not really there for the music whatsoever.
No.
If someone's like, X act is on, like Iggy Pop was on, I was like, fuck that, I'm going on the bumper cars with mates, and I'm going to go get food. And
Iggy Pop was on?
And I was like...
And you were like, nah.
And I even kept saying, I was like, I want to go see Iggy Pop, because like, Iggy Pop's old.
He's big.
I'm never going to go see him live in concert, like, because I just don't listen to him.
Yeah.
So if I'm ever going to see Iggy Pop, right here, right now is the only time I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I chose not to. Just because I'm having fun with the mates, you know. I like sitting around the campsite. You know, Kojak was on. I was like, nah, I want a nap. I'm fucking bollocks. I'll go see Kojak another time.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can just
it was
do
also
that.
Pissing rain when Kojak was on. So
is that the Friday?
No, he announced... it was announced on Saturday for Sunday. It was like lastminute.com. We got Kojak. He's coming here tomorrow.
Was there a lot of buzz?
Yeah, people were buzzed. Like the crowd on it looked big, but I was like, nah, I'm fucking bollocks tired. I need a nap. I had got up early to try and get a shower, and was told when I was in the line for an hour that like the shower's about to close. You're not gonna get a shower.
The shower's about to close.
Yeah, they closed the shower. Now I say I get up early. I queued up at 11.
That is early, man. At a festival,
yeah.
On the last day. That is early.
Yeah, and it closes at 12 for 4 hours. So I come back at 4, and Kojak was on from 3 to 4, and I was like, nah, I'm going to have a nap, I'm going to have a shower. That's more vital to me surviving the rest of this night than seeing another artist.
Especially at a camping festival, you know?
Yeah, man, I both love and hate camping festivals.
Yeah, it's because non-camping festivals are like big things in every other country in the world, you know?
Yeah, like we have Longitude.
We have Longitude.
Forbidden Fruit.
Yeah, but they're like more like kids events. No?
Yeah, they really are.
That's because I've been to
I'd even
been to Forbidden Fruit twice, I think. And it's more of like a day out. It's more like it's like going to Fantasia
Yeah.
rather than like when I went to, going to Primavera, totally different scene. Like, you know,
Yeah.
totally different experience. Because I suppose you're on holiday anyway, but like at the same time, it's like there's so much going on around. It's like all across the city. It's like Forbidden Fruit. It's like where's it, Cumanum or whatever?
Yeah,
Don't know where it is.
Cumanum, yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a few acts playing there. Then that's it. You know,
Yeah.
then you go back into town and just do exactly what you do every weekend.
Yeah, it's going to Lash.
Yeah,
And then back up the next day and all the way to Cumanum.
and then go back to work.
Yeah, I think I'm much more there for seeing people and having crack around the campsite
Yeah, definitely,
than actually seeing acts. I'm just kind of lazy.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't really care. We went to Primavera. You went the weekend after me, weekend 2. You had a way better lineup than I did. I didn't really care though, to be honest. I didn't actually care that much.
So yeah, like Primavera, I just stayed beside the main stage, so I didn't have to
Yeah.
move around. I didn't see any other stage at Primavera except for the main stage. Like at least at Altogether now, like especially at night, just going around, going to different DJ sets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've converted to techno and like house music and shit like that now. I've been converted.
Over the course of like 72 hours.
Yeah.
You just changed
It was
personality.
the first night I was there, and I was just like, "This is fucking lit." There might have been some assistance in that, but you know,
You had a religious experience, an
Yeah.
epiphany.
I had
one
an
might say.
epiphany. You know, I really rose to the occasion. Really came up for it.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, no, it looked really nice. It looked really cool. Except for the rain. I hate the rain. I hate when it rains.
The rain was something else.
You know, because it's so tragic. You know, just the timing of it. Because the big complaint with EP last few years is how it's kind of positioned, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like not just the fact that it's extremely expensive and it's
How
extremely
much is
crowded.
EP?
€300 for one ticket. It was €220 or was it even less for Primavera, which had a much better lineup, much better events and stuff. But yeah, it's like €300, and then like the crowd is very kind of, you know, it's not great.
It's 18s as well, whereas
Yeah,
altogether now it's 21s. And man,
that makes a difference.
it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it
Big
makes a difference. Like there's a big variety of people there. Like I once on the second night, at the second night, I turned around in the crowd and there was a young fella, and he was definitely not that old. He was definitely not over 21. And he was like, "Do you want to show me vape?" And I was like, "Yeah, go on." I was like, "Yeah, go on with it, whatever." And like that was perfect. That was a one-off that happened where I saw someone and like shout out to Connor. Connor, everyone else in the group hated Connor because Connor was a bit of a melt. I fucking loved Connor because I thought he was fucking gas. But like there was no one like that outside of that one occasion.
Whereas EP is just that.
Actually, I'll tell you what as well, man, right? So went to like 2, raves the first night and the second night. And then the third day there was Max Richter, I think his name is. And he does loads of like soundtracks to films and shit like that.
All right.
Did you watch The Last of Us?
Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes. Yeah.
You know the song that plays at the end of the third episode with Bill and Frank, and it's like this nice like piano music that's playing, like showing the montage of the life or whatever.
Yeah, I pretty know if I heard it. Yeah.
That he made that music.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he was playing with the RTE Symphony Orchestra, and we all, like a few of us went because we're like, oh, he might play, music that we would know.
Mm-hmm.
No, he played orchestral music, and that was it. But so 2 raves, and then the orchestra. Where do you think we saw someone collapse?
At the orchestra. What were they doing?
This girl collapsed twice. She just hit she was standing in front of us. She just hit the ground. She gets back up after a few minutes. Mates are fanning her, like, okay, handing her water or whatever. She takes 15 steps and hits the deck again. And it was at the orchestra that I saw someone collapse, not the 3 nights of raves across different venues and shit like that.
What time was this orchestra at?
4 o'clock.
In the morning?
No, like
In the day?
4 p.m.
Oh, she must have been on a heavy one.
She must
Fair play.
Fair play. Jesus.
Fair play. Coming up at the RTE concert orchestra.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, respect to her.
Respect. She must have gone hard.
Yeah. What day was this?
It was on Sunday.
On the Sunday. Oh, okay, yeah. Because the Friday that was kind of a washout, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Friday was just pissing rain.
Yeah.
And the rain was fine. I think everyone got over the rain because you can deal with the rain easily. You just get into bed, dry yourself a little bit, get into bed, warm up. It's all good.
Mhm.
Saturday morning, fuck that. Saturday morning also had wind. I opened up the tent. So Saturday morning to the fucking wind howling through the tent. And the first thing I see is a gazebo flying through the sky.
Oh god!
And it just crashes down like fucking 50 meters. So I was like, fucking. And then for one step I get out. Like, stupidly enough, I was just wearing my socks. So I was trying to put on my Crocs. My foot hits the ground and just sinks in. And it goes up to my ankles. I'm like, oh, that's that pair of socks gone.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's fucking Jesus. The mud, fucking hell.
Mm.
And like at least with like EP, like that weekend where it's just lashing rain constantly. At least if it's lashing rain constantly, the mud will eventually wash off.
Uh-huh.
But like when it's sunny and it's just like flooded and mud, it's not gonna wash off. I took a fucking Diet Coke foot bath to clean my feet because I can see the face you're pulling.
After stepping into the mud.
Yeah, I went around in my Crocs Saturday morning because I had
Yeah.
a pair of Vans. I was like, I'm not putting them on and just walking around because it's a whole effort to try and get them on. I was walking around, Crocs, no socks, just walking around like that. Then afterwards, came back to the campsite, got a bin bag, opened it up. I had more cans of Coke than I had bottles of water. So the logic was, I'm just going to use the cans of Diet Coke to fill this up a little bit and scrub my feet in that, and then, use a baby wipe, dry them off, and then put them into a pair of socks.
That's knacker, man.
Yeah, it was dirt. It was dirt, but it worked. I survived. That's the main thing.
Yeah, well, you might have trench foot, but he survived.
I survived.
Yeah, no, it's all part of the experience, though.
Mm.
It sounds like an enjoyable. Was it as crowded as EP would be? Would you say?
No, because I think EP is like over 100,000, isn't
It's
it?
a lot bigger, yeah.
Yeah, whereas altogether now it was 25,000.
25,000.
And
It seems like fucking every single person I know was there.
Oh man,
Everyone
there's
was
so
there.
many people. Jeez.
Everyone was there, yeah.
The worst thing was in the first night was I went back to the camp twice when it was dark by myself to try and find a drink and stock up or whatever. Lost my tent both times. I was gone for I think over the one night, like an hour was spent trying to find the tent on like 3 different occasions because I just couldn't fucking find it.
Yeah. That happened to me as well multiple times when I went to EP last year, and it was always a disaster, because it was literally when it started lashing rain and I couldn't find the tent, and then it was downhill from there basically. It was downhill from there, but it's part of the experience.
You walk around and it's like the slow panic starts to fill in.
Yeah,
like, I'm by myself, can't find the tent. Do I just give up and go back? In which case, I don't have any fucking drink.
Yeah.
Oh man, great crack though,
Good crack all the same.
And
It's good to hear everyone had fun. You
Yeah.
know, everyone had clean fun.
Clean fun, despite the mud.
Yeah, despite the mud. Yeah,
Despite the mud,
we had Diet Coke.
clean fun.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, right. Mark, what have you been watching this week?
What have I been watching? Well, this week I watched a little film called JFK.
JFK.
Yeah, we're gonna
The
start.
man himself.
We're gonna start a little lone man called JFK. We're gonna start with this one because
It's a good place to start as any.
well, yeah, exactly, yeah, and also it kind of follows on from our special double bill episode, JFK, because I watched JFK because I'd watched Oppenheimer, and apparently Oppenheimer's draws a lot on what Oliver Stone did with JFK.
Mm.
So JFK follows a guy who was not JFK, who was played by Kevin Costner. I can't remember the guy's name, and honestly, I'm not going to look it up, the character's name. But he's played by Kevin Costner, and it's kind of the whole film takes place in the aftermath of the assassination of JFK. If we all remember that. And
If you can call back to that little event that happened.
let me take you back. And it's all about, like discrepancies, what happened, the Warren Commission, who was a patsy, who wasn't, Jack Ruby, Oswald, all the boys. And this guy, Kevin Costner's character, is just like bamboozled by the web You know, the kind of like the nearly like horrific, or it's not horrific. It's more like it's just a labyrinth of bureaucracy and like the layers behind everything, like the way truth is concealed, basically. And the noble thing about this film is that it's like very well. It's like it's quite controversial. It's a good film. It's 3 hours long, but it's very controversial. It's 3 hours long, yeah. But like it's more like a manifesto than it is like a. It's like a, you know, like a fucking imitation game, like straight played biopic. Because it's not a biopic at all. It's about the investigation of JFK's assassination. And there's no real. Obviously, the film wouldn't be very interesting. It was just like, yeah, Oswald did it, you know. So the film like starts on the premise that Oswald did not do it, and that JFK was assassinated basically by like a coalition between the mob and the FBI, which is like realistically the most realistic.
That is like the most realistic thing that happened.
Yeah, like realistically, that's probably what happened. And like there's a lot of stuff that points that way, and the film goes to great lengths to kind of explain it, and the length of it, and the kind of how convoluted and complex the whole thing is, and like there's all these dead ends and like things that don't, you know, kind of cross reference properly, and you just you feel confused and a bit lost. But that's kind of the point of the film.
Yeah.
That's why it's so long, and that's why it's kind of done the way it is, because it's like half a courtroom drama nearly. Even though it's not even in a courtroom, but it's him trying to, you know, picking up the breadcrumbs, trying to follow the clues that he can find, and they all kind of, because there's been so many diversions set up by the people that, you know, did it, that it's a huge task. And watching the film is also a huge task because you have to like pay attention, and it's really long. And again, like similar to the way Oppenheimer is, it's not about. Like I thought it was about JFK. I thought it was a biopic about JFK when I sat down to watch
you'd assume.
Yeah, and like that's the title. But like Oppenheimer, it's not about JFK at all. Like literally, obviously, in the fact that the main character isn't JFK, he doesn't actually appear in the film, except for when they show him getting his head blown off. Like they show like the full, like
The
assassination. Clip. Yeah, the whole clip of his head blowing up. Which I thought was just bizarre because I'd never seen that until I was like, I don't know, like very late teens. I didn't know that they actually had the, because they always
the unaltered version.
Yeah, because they always censor it on TV, even though it's so iconic. I don't know if this is one of the first films to show it in like a public setting.
When that first aired, like was that, because obviously they've like the delay now for when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah.
Did they have that back in the 60s? Or was it just straight live?
I don't think it was live. It's just a home movie.
Oh, okay.
So like it's this Zapruder film. So it's literally just a guy who was standing on the hill near where Kennedy was, and that's why it's really low quality. And he's standing on the hill where Kennedy was, just filming the president going by, and he just happened to capture this moment. And it's like it's one of the most like, you know, thoroughly analyzed pieces of media in history, just because of like there's like whole articles and papers written about specific frames. And like
who's the man on the grass?
Yeah, and who's the man? There's like some people see like a guy like in a different setting, like a different part of the picture. He's wearing like a police badge and he seems to be holding a gun. I don't see it myself. But anyway, there's like it's so
you're not gonna get that shot with a fucking handgun. Jesus.
Yeah, but the film
kind of curved the bullet like I'm wanted.
Maybe that's how they got him. Yeah, the film kind of comes to the conclusion that there were like multiple gunmen, who all like kind of triangulated on Kennedy, and basically says that Oswald could not possibly have killed Kennedy just based on like how, you know, the physics of how he could reload the shotgun that quickly, fire off I think 6 bullets.
Yeah.
It happened over 3 seconds or something like that, 3 or 4 seconds. But apparently it was impossible basically, and it also goes into Oswald's whole his background, because he was like the official story, which no one believes, which is like even the people who like say Oswald did it, is like this isn't really.
That's not true.
His background story isn't relevant at all. His background story, as was set up, was he supported Castro and he was like a communist. And he traveled to the Soviet Union and like lived there for a while. And it seems to be like the whole idea was to set him up as like someone who'd gone over to the Russians, defected, you know, politically, and was coming back as a double agent to take down Kennedy. But like no one actually thought like that's even in history books, like with the straight version, as in terms of how the story is told, that's not how it's ever portrayed. Like Oswald is just like being most generous to the official story. Oswald is just portrayed as like a lone gunman. Like it wasn't the USSR, it wasn't Castro, it wasn't Cuban people like meddling in American affairs as revenge for the Bay of Pigs. It was just this lone guy who was crazy, who happened to have this kind of weird, kind of like obviously fabricated backstory. Or clearly something was wrong with his backstory. The film goes to great lengths about that to explain it and why it doesn't make any sense, and how suggesting that the U.S. government had used communists or communism as basically a cover for killing their own president, which they did
for a lot of things that they did.
They did that. Yeah, exactly.
They did that all the time.
Yeah, and Oppenheimer does the exact same thing.
Yeah,
the exact same thing, which is unusual for because Oppenheimer is unusual for a big film. In that all the all the main characters, everyone that's likable in the story is like some kind of communist. And they're obviously it's not central to their character or the story really, like their political beliefs specifically, and their substance. But most of the film is about how their political beliefs shape their interaction with the government, and the kind of the Leviathan that is like seizing down upon them, and it's a really interesting film, but it's extremely long. It's really, really intense in terms of like it's not in the same way you're watching Oppenheimer and you're kind of thinking about other stuff. It's more like the film makes you think about things that aren't actually happening on the screen. Yeah. Like as a film itself, just watching it, it's fairly straight. It's played fairly straight, aside from the fact that it's a mad conspiracy kind of thriller. But like that's Oliver Stone's thing as well. He's kind of like cast aside from Hollywood as well because of how he made the film. So, but I thought it was pretty cool.
A lot of what you're saying makes it kind of sound like kind of similar to Zodiac in certain ways.
Yeah, it's like about the process. And kind of an interrogation of how truth is made, and how the narrative is controlled, like the layers behind stuff. Like it's conspiracy, not like obviously the Illuminati sense, but kind of breaking it down to the most basic kind of mundane level that it could possibly exist at. In literally just like a series of archives where a page is missing, or like things are redacted, or things don't add up, things don't make sense. This person is related to this person who is somehow in charge of this department in this ministry, which is connected to like a company which sold bananas to Guatemala back in 1928, all that stuff, which is really dense.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole. It's a serious rabbit hole. I watched it about a week ago. That hasn't stuck with me, because the JFK assassination is such like a huge. It's like the most basic conspiracy that like everyone believes.
Yeah. What do you think is most okay? So JFK assassination, 9/11, I would say is another like.
9/11's a big one. Yeah.
Another big one. The moon landing.
The moon landing. Yeah,
I think the moon landing is like they did it like.
I feel like they definitely did the moon landing.
Yeah, that's not one that I don't really buy into a lot of the reasons why it's fake or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Like at least with like, I still think that 9/11 happened, but it's still like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird shit around 9/11. A lot of stuff that like makes me at least question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There is loads of shit.
More so just because of the political outcomes that came afterwards. Like,
exactly.
Interesting how that happened.
Yeah, like there's just basic stuff like, oh yeah, they attacked us, so let's invade Afghanistan. It's like, why did they invade? Because Al Qaeda were there. It's like, why were they there?
But the people that did it were Iraqi.
Why did we invade Iraq then? And it's like everyone's just whatever,
Don't question.
Yeah, they're kind of compartmentalized, which is the same. It's kind of the thing that JFK gets into, because when you think about conspiracies, you think about JFK was killed by X, and that's it. Like it's kind of it's fully
concise.
Yeah, it's fully compartmentalized into that one event, and then it's just like time moves on till the next conspiracy, which is also condensed into that one event. And in JFK they go into like the interest of the mob, how the mob would have wanted to get rid of JFK, why they would have wanted to get rid of him, why the FBI would work with the mob, how they still work together, how they have common interests, stuff like they go into it like Sicario, how the CIA work with cartels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is also like open knowledge that has happened at least before in the past.
Even fucking Ozark gets into that as well towards the end.
Yeah.
Like how the FBI and CIA work with
the bad guys.
The bad guys.
Yeah. And 9/11 is the same thing,
Yeah.
It's like it's not just one event, but obviously there's like the further you get out, it's like if you start thinking about the fucking orbiting events around it, you start probably losing your mind.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking the moon landing was fake.
Yeah. And the world is flat.
Yeah, stuff like that. Just, but it's like nearly by design. Is the suggestion of JFK?
Yeah.
What
other like big conspiracy theories?
Aliens, Roswell.
Yeah, aliens.
I think that's bollocks though.
Yeah, I think aliens is just too much bollocks around it.
Yeah. It's suspicious.
Yeah.
It's suspicious. It smells.
A lot of it is just like more. I think the ones that like have a lot more credibility are the ones that have a lot of bureaucracy behind it.
Yeah.
Because that's how you can follow the paper trail and stuff like that. And it's that sort of stuff. Especially when you get into like FBI and CIA sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's where like it's like
Yeah, it's like fronts within fronts within fronts within fronts, and they openly admit to like some of the fronts.
Yeah.
Openly admit to it. That's the thing. That's so you can't really believe anything.
And then the things that we know are true, like MK Ultra type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if that's true, then fucking who knows what else is true.
Even the same, like even here in Ireland with the MI5 and the security forces in the UK working with UVF, UDA, all those boys. The fact that they could only all those loyalist gangs were incapable of actually carrying out any kind of complex attack, unless they were, it's not like definitively proven, but they were obviously working with.
Yeah.
So by extension, the British security forces basically carried out those attacks.
Yeah,
and that's a fact, and that happened. But if you start thinking about that and extending it into the present, then everything's up in the air.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, like the fucking 7/7 attacks were also fake. This was fake. ISIS is fake. Obama created ISIS. So, I don't know. It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's
a dark rabbit hole. But there is truth somewhere down beneath.
That's the
maddening part.
That is that is literally the maddening part about it is that there are certain things that are facts, and there are certain things that can look like facts, and it's hard to distinguish those two things.
Yeah, especially when you don't control, or the fact that there are people out there who try to control what facts are, and that obviously we don't have that power really.
They're trying to manufacture consent.
Exactly.
You
can go around this.
Yeah,
all
like it's
day.
a fucking it's a huge old rabbit hole that like you can see why people get sucked into.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like, it's super fucking easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even just through looking at Wikipedia pages. You don't have to go any further than Wikipedia pages.
Yeah,
and you
honestly.
get sucked right in.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, mad old stuff. Going on from having watched things because of Oppenheimer, I watched Grave of the Fireflies. Yeah, because I think we mentioned it last week. We talked about it last week, but I'd seen Grave of the Fireflies before, but I could not remember much about it because I watched it like when I was getting into like anime films and stuff like that. And I think the first time I watched Grave of the Fireflies, I was like, yeah, it's good. This time around watching, I was like, oh, wow, that's a fucking grim out film. An interesting way that I watched it, and you're gonna laugh at how I watched this film. I watched this with my head through my viewer headset.
Oh my god, man! What? Why?
Because I was sitting.
You wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel the blast.
I wanted to feel the heat. No, because I was like, oh, I want to watch a film through my VR headset, and I was like, what will I watch? And for some reason,
Why would you choose that?
for some reason, I was like, I'm gonna
This
watch.
is the first ever film you watched in VR.
Yes. Now, right. One thing that I've discovered as the benefits of watching films through your VR headset is there are no distractions. Like at all. You can't look at your phone. You can't rub your eye or anything. Like you can only see the film in front of you. So it's a very absorbing way to watch a film. And I think that this film benefited from that a lot because it's a film that like is kind of bookended by horrific events. So just a little bit of backstory to the film. This film was a double feature, or at least like came out on the same day as My Neighbor Totoro, which is another like really big. It's like the Ghibli film. Like if you ever see a Studio Ghibli film,
guy.
yeah, like he's literally, if you're ever watching a Studio Ghibli film and you see a little cute cat figure guy that pops up behind the Ghibli sign, that's Totoro. Very iconic film, great film. Also a film about death, and about dealing with death. So I think that the thought was, oh, we'll do two films that are about death. My Neighbor Totoro does it in a lot more like childlike and friendly way, where like the death is kind of in the background, and like you kind of have to read into it a little bit in order to, view it as that. Grave of the Fireflies, death is at the forefront of the film. They even said, like the director said, like, I didn't mean to make an anti-war film. I was just trying to make a kids film about death. And like, buddy, you fucking failed massively.
Why would he make a kids film about an atomic bomb?
It's not about atomic bomb. There's no atomic bombs in Grave of the Fireflies.
I thought it was about Hiroshima, no?
No, it's not. It's about the fire bombings. It's about a young boy and a young girl who live in some Japanese small village, and they get firebombed, and the village gets burnt to the ground. And their dad is off at war fighting with the Navy, and their mom, at the start of the film, they're like in the village and the sirens go off, and the young boy's like packing stuff underground so that he can come back and get supplies. And he grabs his sister and they fucking leg it. And then they find out that their mom is in the school, because the school wasn't burnt down, and it's being used as a mini hospital. And this is where I'm like, how did you think this film was for kids? Because they show the mom. The mom is horrifically burnt, like completely burnt, like, and they show like bits of her skin, and it's just, it's a real disturbing image. And it's like, why did you think this is for kids? Like, why is this a double feature with My Neighbor Totoro? And so from that point on, they go off to stay with their auntie who lives somewhere else, and the kids don't do good. The film starts, the very start of the film is the older boy dying of starvation in a train station, and then they pick up his body or whatever, and they're gonna just like toss it onto the back of a truck because there's people just dying of starvation everywhere, and the little girl isn't there, but they pick up a little can and they toss it out into a field, and it opens up and bone fragments fall out of it, and then the ghost of the little girl appears.
Oh God.
And her brother is there, and then they go back, kind of walk back through time to show you what happened to them.
Yeah.
So the idea of the director was, I'm going to show you that the kids are dead at the start of the film, so the impact of the deaths isn't as impactful later on. It just makes the entire film more tragic.
Yeah. Would that not be have the reverse effect? No?
All it does to do is making everything much more sadder because you know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
And by the way, seeing a little girl die of starvation, it doesn't make it any easier knowing that she dies at the start of the film. It doesn't make it any fucking easier. So they're at the auntie's house, and the auntie is a fucking arsehole. Absolute arsehole to them. Like, being like, "Yous are a bunch of fucking mooches." By the way, the auntie knows that the mom is dead, and their dad is off at war, and they've got no other support system. And it's like, "You're a bunch of mooches. Like, you, older boy, you should be off fighting in the war." He's like 15 or something. And then they go off. They then leave the house and they go live in a cave. And it is a film basically about how during war, the most vulnerable will be forgotten. And like there will be no support systems in place. And just how war can like is horrible for like soldiers and stuff like that, but like also the impact that it has at people that are like nowhere near the fighting. And yeah, it's a grim out film. It's very upsetting, and it is just a film about like the impacts of war, which is kind of like, how did you not like? This is an anti-war film. Like, there's so much war imagery in the film. Like, there's American planes going over. You see the awful burnings and like the cries of people as they run out of the villages. You see women holding babies while the houses and stuff are on fire around them. Like, I just don't understand how you didn't think you made an anti-war film when you made this film, buddy. It's a really good film. Really good film. Like, an hour of this film is just these two kids hanging out, having fun, playing, you know, making the best out of a awful situation, and then just the end of it being how the awful situation will just consume them, and that there's no way out. And
you watched it in VR.
I watched this film in VR. It was actually kind of bad at the end because there's tears in my eyes. I was like, shit, I can't cry in the VR headset.
Yeah.
I can't get tears in the fucking lenses.
Yeah, VR is one of the saddest films.
Around. It is one of the saddest films around. It's like, it hits hard because especially like, it does such a great job of establishing the two main characters. And like, the little girl, she's so lovely and so playful and joyful. And like, you know, she's crying and stuff, like crying out for her mom because she doesn't realize that her mom is dead for like quite a while. The pressure on the older boy as he's trying to like keep his little sister away from the horrors of war, trying to keep her distracted, trying to keep her fed, trying to, you know, make sure that she doesn't have any diseases or anything like that. And you know, trying to deal with dysentery and stuff like that comes into it.
Jesus.
Like, it's fucking...
How is that kids movie?
I know, yeah. I don't understand. Japan back in the 80s, a different time, I guess.
Japan, yeah, they're a weird bunch.
They, yeah, and like, just like there's moments in the film where like the older brother just like cracks of the pressure, and then he has to, like, towards the end of the film, like, they're starving so much that the fire bombings are going off, and he's running into the village to loot the houses quickly because no one's there because they've gone to the shelters.
Yeah.
But that's the one time that he can get in and try and get supplies for them. And like stealing stuff to then go to pawn shops and then pawn it back to the people essentially. And he gets caught doing that, and then the farmer takes no sympathy on him, beats the fucking shit out of him, and the police understand and are like, you know, the vague forms of the state are like we understand why you're doing this. Don't really worry about it. We're fair enough. Like you're struggling. You can't do anything about this. You're like 15 trying to take care of someone. Yeah, very, very upsetting film.
That's fucking heavy.
Yeah. Oh god, like
that is heavy.
It was halfway through because I paused halfway through to, like, you know, take a break because I'm fucking sweating the VR headset on. And I was just reading the Wikipedia page, all this stuff, and I was like, I don't understand how you thought that this is like a kid's film. Like, alone the image of the man burnt, how you thought that's like...
I seen that there. It's just like unnecessarily graphic for a kid's film.
But like, that's the first time you see her later on, and they're like moving her body, and there's fucking worms coming out of the bandages and stuff like that. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, great film, fucking amazing film. But definitely not one to watch with young ones.
Yeah, or get them in early. Just like war is bad, you know. Watch this.
Yeah, well, but this is what happened. This, and then you knock on Oppenheimer after. It's like this is that's the effects of war. This is the effects of what we're living with now.
Yeah. Oh, that is VR film though. I love that.
Very immersive way to watch films.
Yeah. I say it is. The VR set is. I tried it on there last week as well. Wow. Very immersive. Very immersive. Yeah, it's proper works.
Proper works.
Actually works.
And I was watching with like earphones on and stuff like that, so like couldn't hear anything around me when I was sitting in my bed watching the film. Even on the app, I started lying down. There's a thing on the settings where you can set it so that you're lying down. So like if you're facing upwards.
Oh wait, so you watch it on the ceiling?
Yeah, you can watch it on the ceiling. Now I was watching it with like pillows in my head, so it was at like a slight angle, but the way that the headset was set up was as if I'm sitting up straight watching a movie. Very comfortable way of watching films.
And what's the resolution like?
Decent, like not bad at all.
It's good.
Like especially.
Can you see anything behind it?
No, you can't see nothing.
Can't see
anything behind it.
That's cool.
That's why I went with an anime film, because like resolution doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
Like it's okay if there's like a little bit of fuzz because it's animated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would really work with a live action film.
Yeah. Well, there's not many, unless you're watching fucking Oppenheimer or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
Listen, I'll watch Come and See Again in VR and I'll tell you how I get on. I'll only watch just like the most disturbing fucked up films in VR.
Yeah, just a shower.
Yeah. Sitting there for 8 hours. I got an IV drip in and shit like that to keep me there. Got a fucking bag beside us.
Yeah.
No breaks.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's I don't know. I can't express. It's just watching that in VR is just so. It's like, don't want to say cool, but it's just like
it's a neat way of watching it.
It's just it's new. It's very new.
Very new.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way that the Japanese people would have wanted me to watch this film, but anyway.
Yeah.
On an American
headset. Oh my god, what happened?
Yeah, maybe if I was doing it on a Sony headset, they'd be more forgiving.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
But the thing as well, like there's no mention of America in the film.
Yeah, it's not about the bomb. So
it's not about like it is about the war, but it's not about like the war. It's about war. Like
in general,
it doesn't really matter who the enemies are.
Oh, they can't really make a film. Oh, we were treated so badly in the war. It's like what?
Yeah, we should watch a film about the massacre of Nanking.
Yeah. They still pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So maybe they could make a movie about it.
Oh, I'm sure this film's. I don't want to watch that, but I'm sure this film is about that.
I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, because you don't even see like you see the planes. Like there's a real cool shot of like the plane from like above, just flying over the village. That is it. That is the only time, and there's no like American flag or anything on the plane. You don't see the pilots. You don't see nothing like that. It's just the one shot of the plane, and that's it. You never see the planes again. You can hear them, but you never see them.
Yeah. That's
it's real. Yeah.
Very contained.
Very contained. It's weird because like the middle part of the film is just like it's just a standard like kids film, just outside of some of the rashes that they have.
Yeah.
Which is like but outside of that, like outside of the stuff that has to do with war, the kids hanging out and stuff like that, the way that they're interacting with their auntie and playing and like all that type of stuff is very like standard Ghibli stuff. It just so happens to be bookended by horrific war scenes and children dying of starvation and ghosts walking around looking at like stuff, and like the ghosts looking at certain decisions that they made, being like, oh, shouldn't have done that, should have done something else.
Yeah.
I regret what I did there because it led on to this, whatever. Yeah. Strange enough, like again, knowing that the characters died at the end of the film doesn't lessen the tragedy of everything.
No, I think it'd just be a really cool device to make it even sadder. You know?
I'm trying to think of other films.
Especially like the whole idea of them looking back and being like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Like that's so sad.
Yeah.
You know? It's like really off a massive tangent, but like in Interstellar, like the most impactful scene is when he's like interacting with the past,
with,
but, like,
yeah.
really, obviously devastated about it. And like it's like it's a proper representation. Like, oh yeah, everyone thinks that way. It's a really interesting device.
Yeah.
To make a sad film even sadder.
Yeah.
You know?
Shockingly, regret is a very what's what I'm looking for? Very easy to empathize with.
Yeah, very powerful emotion.
Yeah, very easy to connect with the character that is looking back in the past and experiencing regret.
Yeah.
Shockingly. I'm trying to think of other films where the outcome of the film at the start. Like the film tells you about it.
Memento.
Yeah. Because like even like biopics don't count. Like I wouldn't say that like Oppenheimer is like
what? Man, you won't believe what happened at the end.
They actually dropped him. Yeah, I can't think of other films like that. It's a cool. I guess it kind of only works for tragedies.
Yeah, if you start the film with like these characters are gonna be just fine.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's like yeah. I can't think of any.
Like prequels don't work in that sense.
No, well, kind of. Well,
some prequels.
The Star Wars prequels kind of work. That's what makes it interesting. The fact you already know what's gonna happen.
Actually, that's true. Knowing
it actually works to its advantage that you know what's happening.
Yeah, that's actually
Anakin.
true.
Yeah.
That's a good example. The tragedy of Anakin is made worse when you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So my voice is still kind of. I'm still recovering from altogether now.
A bit hoarse.
Ignore that voice break there. Oh god.
Speaking of films where the director disagrees, or basically misinterprets the film that he's made himself.
I think it's mental that directors do that.
Yeah. But I feel like they're kind of having us on a lot of the time. But sometimes I feel like they actually just have their own way of looking at it. You know.
What was that Spanish one that you talked about last year?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Where there's like a revolution happening and the poor people kill the rich people.
It was like accidentally really racist.
Oh, it's really racist. Yeah. It's like all the rich white Mexicans get attacked by the dirty, less white Mexicans, and it's kind of portrayed as being like this, as like a horror film, and they're like the zombies.
It's mad.
You know, it's a really good. It's a good film though.
I can't remember what that was called.
I can't remember what it's called either, but it was a good movie. But Southern Comfort is similar in the sense that it's a Vietnam film that's not set in Vietnam, but it's very clearly about Vietnam. But the director insists it has nothing to do with Vietnam. But it's a Vietnam film.
Yeah, it's like Aliens in that sense. Like it's not about Vietnam.
Oh, it's even more egregious. Yeah. Like it's even more egregious because it's about this troop of National Guards in Louisiana, in America, and it's like in the 80s. This film's in 1981. I can't remember who directed it. Some guy. It has Fred Ward. You know Fred Ward? This guy from Tremors. Have you seen Tremors?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, Tremors. You know
Is it the gun-toting one?
He's the guy who's not Kevin Bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Keith Carradine, of the Carradine family, and then a few other guys. They're all very good in the film. And it's about this troop of National Guards in Louisiana who, on a kind of I don't know, it's like an exercise they're doing, because like they're not military, but they're National Guards, but they're dressed in military garb, obviously. And they're going around, and they have guns and stuff, but they all have blanks. They don't actually have any bullets. They're just
like Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a mix between Tropic Thunder and Apocalypse Now. You know, and they're going around, and it's just an exercise in case of like something crazy happening, because the National Guard was kind of quite active in America back then. Yeah, not so much now, but they would get. For example,
we're gonna call in the National Guard.
Yeah. If there was a strike, if the students were causing, if there's a civil rights march, if the students were causing trouble, it's talked about in the film. They'd send in the National Guard. National Guard would like beat them down, without any consequences, basically.
No questions asked.
No questions asked, and they're all just kind of amateurs and stuff. It's like the Territorial Army in the UK.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fucking losers who've nothing else to do. So on the weekend, they become the weekend warriors. So they all have jobs during the week and they do this in their spare time. And they go out into it's in Louisiana, so it's set in the bayou. They go out into the bayou and they're doing this exercise. And they need to get down the river, and they've no way of getting down. I can't remember why. They can't get down the river for some reason. They find these boats kind of abandoned by the riverside. And and they're like kind of traditionally made Cajun boats.
Mm.
So I thought Cajuns were like Mexicans or like Indians or like some kind of combination of the two.
No, I thought the Cajun was like Caribbean.
No,
No,
yeah, I had no idea. Cajuns are actually like a French ethno-cultural like community
did not know that.
in like Southern America. Like
I know it's South America. It's like not Southern America.
yeah, so like
But I thought they were like, oh, it's French. Weird, isn't it?
yeah, they're French. Yeah, I had no idea. I thought Cajuns. I just think like Cajun spices and stuff.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think, they're probably like Mexican or some kind of like, Latin group.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose they are Latin because they're French. But yeah, it's like this French kind of group that was expelled from Acadia, which is like Nova Scotia in Canada. Expelled with the British, and they were forced to move down to the American South. They're kind of based around the bayou areas, and they're pretty big as well. There's like 2 million of them, and so yeah, they're trapped in this situation where they need to use these boats, which have been abandoned by like the local Cajun trappers and like hunters and stuff. So they need to use these boats, and so they just hop in the boats and leave a note saying, explain the situation, be like, we'll bring them back. We just need them.
Out.
Yeah, we just need them for a land. They're going downstream, and they end up seeing they come across the trappers, the hunters, the Cajuns. They're going after them. They're like, what the fuck, you stole our boats. But they're just yelling at them. They can't really speak English. They speak French.
Mad, I'm looking at Cajun people now. Weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Shows what I know.
Yeah.
And so one of the National Guardsmen, obviously being a National Guard, he's just some guy. He's like, oh, let's fucking wind them up. And so he starts shooting the blanks at the trappers. And the trappers respond by shooting back live rounds, and they kill the troop commander. And he's dead on the fucking boat. They have to pull in. At this point, they're basically trapped in the bayou, surrounded on all sides by Cajun hunters and like wild men, basically. Not like wild men, but people who know the land.
Yeah.
And people who basically, it's kind of like a hillbilly kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like hill people who do not have or have very limited contact with the outside world, have basically no respect for who these people are.
Yeah.
They don't care who the National Guard are. Like, this is their land. They don't even really recognize the whole idea of the US, really.
Yeah.
And from that point, it's a kind of a Da film,
Yeah, it sounds it. It sounds it.
It's a survivalist film where you have about 6 characters, and one by one, they're all kind of taken out, either by themselves, the elements.
Sounds like Deliverance.
Yeah, it really has that vibe for most of the film. So like one of them gets killed in a trap, one of them gets stabbed by the other, one of them gets lost, one of them falls into quicksand. The entire time they're just trying to find a way to get back to civilization, find any kind of road out of the bayou, out of the woods, and they can't find it because they're all kind of hapless idiots. And they're trapped, they're thrown into the situation where they're in basically a jungle, and they're clueless kids, basically.
Yeah.
Who don't know what's happening or can't really see who's attacking them because they don't know the land and their hunters do. It's a Vietnam film.
Yeah.
At that point. Entirely. So basically after a while that part of the film is it's a good film. It's a good dad film,
Yeah.
It's done very well.
Dadcore.
Yeah, proper dadcore Vietnam. Shit's gone wrong, back against the wall. 2 big macho characters. One's really silent, he's got a mysterious past. The other's really amiable. He's a ladies' man. They don't like each other at first, but they realize that they're the most competent soldiers, the most mentally stable soldiers. They work together and they find their way out of the wilderness. And then the last half an hour of the film begins. Up until that point, like the film is perfectly fine. It's like a 6-7 out of 10.
Yeah.
You have it on in the background. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good. It's kind of psychological thriller material. But the last half an hour is really interesting. It's the ending is actually the best part of the film.
Damn, I thought you were gonna go to the opposite. Like the ending shits the bed.
No. If the ending shit the bed, I'd be like, it just kind of ruined the film. I'd be like, it's not great. But the ending is actually the most interesting part of the film because it turns from being just this Vietnam kind of rip off. the story that's been told a million times before, into it's kind of like a folk horror situation, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So basically, the entire time most of the time they've been trapped in the bayou, they've had a hostage, a prisoner of war, basically. This Cajun hermit who they found in the middle of the woods, who is missing an arm, and he only speaks French. And the strong silent guy ends up killing one of the other National Guardsmen defending this hermit because the hermit's being tortured or whatever for information which he clearly doesn't have. And the hermit escapes into the woods. Fast forward through 3-4 more deaths on the part of the National Guardsmen. The hermit returns. He shows up again when all hope is lost, basically, for the last two guys standing. And he's like, go this way. Go this way. Like, turns out he can speak perfect English, and he's like training a gun at them. And he's like, you go down this direction. You take a left here. You follow the river, and stick to the railroad tracks, and you'll find the town. You find a road which will lead into a town. Obviously the implication is the hermit is thankful to this strong silent guy for saving his life, basically. So they follow this road. The car comes up like a truck, and there's this lovely Cajun couple with like 2 pigs in the back, who are going back into their local town to bring home, the feast for the evening. And they hop onto the truck, hoping that there's like a telephone in the town. They get into the town, there's no telephone. It's just this, like, it's kind of like, it's similar to like the Wicker Man nearly.
Yeah, when you soon as said like bringing back feed.
Yeah. So these 2 pigs are just trapped in cages, and then the 2 guys hop onto the truck and they're like, oh, thank fuck. And they get back into the town, and it's like this really jovial community space where everyone's happy and dancing. There's music constantly playing, like this really weird kind of folk music, similar to what you'd see in the Wicker Man. And they're like the main guy, who's more like the playboy kind of character. He's obviously just like, yeah, whatever, we'll stick around here for a bit, and then
pick up a few babes.
Yeah, pick up a few babes. Kind of leave our mark on the place, and then the first ride out of here, we'll go to the nearest town with the telephone and call in the big guns. Get ourselves out of here. But the silent guy, he's like, there's something off here. It's like we were basically cornered if something were to happen, because he knows that the trappers are part of the same community, and that they could be back at any moment. And of course they do come back, but we're not sure because we've never actually seen.
You don't know who's a trap.
Yeah, because they're kind of shapes while they're moving around in the bayou, so you actually get a proper look at their faces or who they are, their shapes, or like their build or anything like that. And the silent guy notices that they're building a gallows, like while there's like this big dance hall full of people, and the playboy's there dancing away with some fair maiden who's seduced him. The silent guy knows they're building a gallows and nooses, 2 of them in like the town square. It's just like it was a really weird like diversion from where the film had been before.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's not just kind of
a weird mishmash of a bunch of different films and genres.
Yeah, because it's not something I would really comment on, like a film that I would comment on that much. Because it got to like an hour in, because it's only an hour and a half. I got to an hour in, I was like, it's a good film, but I was like, I kind of maybe should have watched something else because it's not a lot to talk about. But then it turns into like a different film and there's way more kind of, there's much more horror, more of a horror element once you get to that last act.
Yeah.
As opposed to when they're trapped in the bayou, which is in itself is obviously kind of a horrifying situation, but it's been done. But then it's like counterintuitively, once they're surrounded by this crowd of people, and they're at safety, they're washing up, they're getting fed, they're drinking beer.
It's when they're in their most dangerous.
Yeah. And I had that same kind of feeling of something being terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Even though everyone's smiling and laughing and playing music. That just it hit different.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I was like, oh shit, like this is actually it made the film worth commenting on, basically.
Yeah.
Because it showed some understanding of that. I don't know what that last part has to do with Vietnam. That's pretty what the director's talking about.
Yeah.
But the first hour,
He's just like, I just made a film about how awful Cajun people are.
yeah. Basically, yeah, they don't come out looking very good from this film. But yeah, no, it's because I don't remember any other film where the ending actually like saves.
Yeah, normally
Saves
films
it from
fuck
being-
up in the end.
Yeah, it kind of saves it from it doesn't save it from being a bad film. It saves it from being like a film that's kind of not worth looking at again.
Yeah,
Um,
dadcore film.
yes, it transcends from being a dadcore film into a this is kind of interesting kind of territory, you know. But I thought it was good. It's called Southern Comfort. It's on YouTube. It's free to watch.
Interesting.
An hour and a half, you know. I think all dads out there would love it, just because it's a good film and it's dadcore for at least an hour going into it. It's also worth a watch if you ever have nothing to watch, stick it on.
Yeah, interesting.
You know?
That sounds like something I might want to watch.
Yeah, should go on.
Watch it with my dad.
Yeah, stick it on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Stick it on with Dave.
Big old Davo. He's into some weird shit. So maybe like this one. All right, go for a quick break.
Let's do it.
And now onto our recommended film of the episode, 2019 Greener Grass, directed by Jocelyn DeBoer and Don Lube. I remember we had this problem the last time. Lube.
Don Lube.
Suburban soccer moms find themselves constantly competing against each other in their personal lives as their kids settle their differences on the field. Yeah, the first half of that description is correct. I don't know about the second half.
The kids settle their differences on the field. It's already about
That makes it sound like a soccer movie, but it's not at all. It's not at all. It's a film that kind of is about the horrors and pressures and the absurdity of suburban soccer moms, I guess, or like suburban life as a whole.
Yeah. The categories, the need to live up to categories to fit into boxes.
Yeah, the competition of that when everyone is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be some form of competition, and we live that competition through our children or through our houses and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a weird old fucking movie.
It's a strange film, a very absurd film. Kind of reminds me of But I'm a Cheerleader. I said that before.
Yeah, we said that. Because we'd watched it by the time the last episode happened. But
but yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. Not just the color scheme, but kind of the approach.
Yeah.
Though But I'm a Cheerleader is obviously it's a very different film about different things, but the kind of like hyper stylized. What's the word? Kind of fabulistic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is it's this kind of like over exaggerated version of reality.
Yes.
Hyper real, you know. So it's like about two soccer moms who are trying to fit in, despite the fact that they already fit in, but they're trying to they're constrained by these categories and these ideals that they have to live up to as, you know, yummy mummies in the suburbs and the things that they have to do.
Trying to be the alpha female.
Yeah. Trying to outdo each other with these like stupid, because they're so bored and they have nothing to do. Just trying to outdo each other with these like random, pointless feats of like social peacocking, you know?
Yeah, social peacocking.
Yeah.
That's definitely it. Yeah, that's definitely the term. Yeah, because like, definitely off the bat, what the most striking thing about this film is two things. One is the color scheme.
Yeah.
Where everything is like bright pinks and bright blues. Like all the men wear blue. Well, not all blue, but they wear blue and pink. And then the women wear all pink. And the grass and the greenery of the suburban landscape really pops as well. Mm-hmm. There's also a kind of hazy bloom to everything.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't know what the exact term is, but there's like a haze to this film. Mm-hmm. Like the camera is kind of like a smear of Vaseline over the camera kind of angle.
Yeah.
Which only makes the colors pop even further. The music doesn't match that though whatsoever. Like at the start of the film, we have our main character. It's been fucking 2 weeks or 3 weeks since I've fucking seen this film. So I'm gonna pull up the letterbox page here so I can get the names. We have basically our two main characters, Jill and Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sitting beside each other at the soccer field. The kids are on the pitch, and Jill has had her recent child, and Lisa's like, "Oh, your baby's so cute." And Jill, because you try to be super nice and super giving when you're in a suburban landscape, it's like a fake sense of community sort of thing. She's like, "Do you want her? Do you want Madeline or whatever the baby's name is?"
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa's like, "Yeah." And then there's like really horrifying music that plays over as Jill gives Lisa her baby, and now her baby is just Lisa's baby. And later on in the film, she's like, "Shit, kind of regret doing that. Kind of regret doing that because now I have to really focus on my son, who's played by that kid that's in Haunting a Hill House and all that stuff, and fucking that kid's a little shit. Like he's not a little shit. He's just
a normal kid.
He's a normal kid.
He's the only real person in the film.
Yeah, and he's like not particularly good at anything, and because of that, she starts to become alienated. Julian.
Yeah.
What's the actor's name?
I don't know.
I know that fucking.
Ah,
Julian Hillard.
His name literally is Julian.
Yeah, his name is literally.
Yeah.
So Julian, played by Julian Hillard. Yeah, he's just a kid that's like not particularly good at anything. So as a result of that, and that him being her only child, she starts to become and starts to feel really alienated by everyone around her, and as a result starts to lose it a little bit, like starts to go a little bit fucking crazy. And the whole, but her kind of crazy weird antics don't really feel that weird and crazy, except for everyone else's reaction around it.
Yeah.
Where there's like, "Why are you acting like that? Like, why are you acting so fucking weird?" Like Lisa later on in the film picks up a football and puts it underneath her dress and is like, "I'm pregnant." And I was like, "Oh my god, congrats!" And then she gives birth to the football and calls the kid Bert or whatever, calls the football Bert.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like, "Oh my god, congratulations on your baby. I'm so happy for you." And it's Lisa, and Jill is just like, "Now that you have Bert, can I have my baby back?" And she's like, "Why would you say that?"
Yeah. It's just it's the reactions are all very I don't know, counterintuitive. It's just extremely absurd film. Even when obviously Lisa has a football baby. It's like an inanimate object. And even when she gets Madeline, like the child off Jill, she only really wants the kid to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the sense that she wants to have. She's just like, oh, she's like watching other kids play. She's like, oh, I wish I had a kid. And like that's kind of that's like the full extent of her desire to bear a child, basically. And even with Jill, when like they all like Jill and I think Nick is her husband.
Yeah,
they don't like Julian, basically.
Yeah,
because he's like a normal kid and he's a bit of a dud, He's not very good at anything. And halfway through the film, he turns into a dog. But like that's like probably like for me is like the clearest thing from the film, or kind of like hints at where the kind of the logic of the film, or what, like, it shows how these characters kind of perceive themselves. Because they see Julian as a big inconvenience because he's not successful, and he's not like this kid that they can show off to all the other parents and like as like some kind of like social proof of their own kind of success as parents. Yeah, their own worth. But then once he turns into a dog, they suddenly love him. Yeah, because he's just a pet. It's like a little thing that they can keep around, and he's always happy. He likes playing. Like the dad even comments at one stage that Julian is way better now as a dog. Yeah, he's actually cool now. I think he says something like, "Oh,
he's much better at baseball and stuff like that now because he knows to catch the ball, and bring it back."
And that's the extent of it demonstrates their entire kind of like worldview, to the extent that they have a worldview at all. It's just even like the way that the camera is kind of hazy. It's like the short sightedness of this little universe that we can see in the story.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing beyond this little community, this little estate that they live in. They don't even care about their kids. They just want a pet, basically.
Yeah.
That they can show off to the other pet owners, parents in the area,
Yeah. And even like I think that the haze still stays there, but there's a bit where Jill leaves. She like has a complete breakdown. She, even like on the film, she's like, oh, like I'm kind of unhappy with Julian now being a dog. Like she starts being like, oh, I just want my son back, but Nick loves it, and so she starts to have a disconnect with Nick, and she's talking with all the other suburban yummy mummies, saying like, I'm not really happy, and they're like, you should get a divorce. Like straight away, be like, you should get a divorce. She's like, should I? And it's like, yeah, you should. Oh my god, you'd be so much happy if you get a divorce. So she immediately walks up to Nick and is like, I want a divorce. And, going through a divorce, all that type of stuff. There's a whole breakdown. And she leaves the suburb. And there's a bit where she just knocks on a house that she used to live in. And the family that open up the house are not like anyone else that has been in the film. They're like, oh my god, can I have your son? And she's like, no, go away. It's like, can I come in and look at the house and go to the toilet? It's like, no, you can't do that. That's really fucking weird. Please leave. Like,
they're the most normal people in the film.
Is the people that we interact with outside the suburban setting. And yeah, even like the way that they talk about there's like I don't know, not like a serial killer, but there's a killer on the loose who comes in like at one stage and like this constant like, it's like this weird like first person shots that you get throughout the film from the killer's perspective, and like this really like heavy breathing and stuff like that. But it just, what it really emphasizes is this like undercurrent throughout the whole film of this like sinister edge to everything. And even like when Jill is having her breakdown and stuff like that, there's no support system around her whatsoever. There's no one there to actually care for her. There's no one there to look out for her or give her any actual advice on what she needs to do. And like, it doesn't work out for her in the end because she loses her house and stuff like that and has to move into Lisa's house.
Yeah. She swaps gaffs with Lisa as well. Towards the end of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's portrayed as Lisa and Bob, Lisa's husband, have basically replaced, or entirely replaced, Jill and Nick.
The hierarchy.
Yeah. When I was reading about it after I watched it, I even someone mentioned, or one of the reviewers mentioned that they actually change. They begin wearing the same clothes as Jill and Nick wear at the start of the film. They swap outfits. Like the first. Was it the first kind of scene where they're all four of them are together, and Jill and Nick start like kissing? It's really weird.
No, yeah, it's Jill and Bob start kissing, and Lisa and Nick start kissing.
Yeah, and they don't realize.
They don't realize that they've swapped husbands and swapped wives.
Yeah.
Because everyone's the fucking same essentially.
Yeah.
And then like when they switch back, Bob is like staring at Jill and like, oh shit, like
whoops.
I kind of wish I was with you instead.
Yeah. So everyone in this community is like totally replaceable. They're all kind of, and even like Jill as the main character is entirely driven by, extremely suggestive, or suggestible, gullible to whatever that is put into her head by the people around her. But they're totally like atomized. It's not a sense of like community and like in the sense that a normal person would understand it as like kind of a support base, where people interact and there's a space in between them that holds them all up. It's more like just random people who are totally interchangeable, but also completely separate.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's no, there's no sense of togetherness or
community.
no basic sense of community at all. It's all aesthetic.
Yeah.
All aesthetics, which is, and the film itself is
pure aesthetics.
Yeah.
But it does that, yeah, because even like, it's such a fucking weird movie. Like the tone and vibe of this movie reminded me of something like The Greasy Strangler, but like not to that level of discomfort. But that kind of absurdity is just like throughout.
The Greasy Strangler is probably what I was trying to reach out for. Like kind of
like kind of like anti-comedy sort of stuff, but it is really funny. Like there are like actual jokes in the film.
It's a weird one, definitely a weird one. Greasy Strangler and Cheerleader. It's like a mesh of those two. Like aesthetically, it's closer to Cheerleader, but like definitely in terms of it, like the spirit of it, and kind of its comedic style. It's very. Like the anti-comedy, the Greasy Strangler is definitely there, you know. But it's more straightforward though at the same time, instead of, you know, Greasy Strangler it was a bit too much for me. But
I think it's a bit too much for me as well. Looking back at that film, like, why do you like that movie? And even like there's loads of like just weird, funny little like motifs and like images in the film. Like they don't have any cars. They drive around in golf carts. Which just adds to the like, this is not a place that anyone lives. Like nowhere's a home. It's like a golf course. It's all very artificial. All very artificial. There's a bit where there's a T junction and it's a stop sign at every edge. So they all stop and they're like, no, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. And at the end when Jill is like, I need to go back to my family, and just goes straight through the stop sign, and everyone's like, whoa, what are you doing?
It's scandalous.
And then everyone tries to go first, and then they all crash into each other. Just like stuff like that. And then even at the very end of the film, because you know, all great films end where they started. It's revealed at the end, and no one really has noticed the fact that where the kids are playing soccer is on top of graves. It's a graveyard.
Yeah.
And just that like image of you're playing on a graveyard and no one has noticed the fact. Like no, and Jill even says like, have you ever noticed that the kids are playing on graves? And then it cuts back to it, and now we can see the graves. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, it's grand, don't worry.
It's, there's no sense of continuity, or, you know, there's no sense of the past or the present or the future, sorry. It's just, it's all about putting on a decent show in the present.
Yeah, it just is.
Yeah.
And it just is, it's aesthetic. It just is, it's weird, quirky, fucked up vibe. Yeah. And I even think that, like, even another thing, everyone has braces.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know.
I didn't get that.
I just think like everyone's aiming or trying to be perfect.
Yeah,
but no one actually is perfect. Everyone is trying to be perfect. I imagine there's something like that where everyone's trying to have the straight teeth, perfect look. They're all in the midst of it. But no one has actually done that. That bit where she cuts out the braces, man.
Yeah, that was. Oh, I actually had to. I remember that now. Yeah, I had to turn away from that.
I had to turn away from that. I was like, oh fuck, because I had braces. Like, oh fuck it, I could feel the wire snap. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, so it's like bleeding. What's this? It's like it's not gushing blood. It's just like enough that's like it's like realistic.
Yeah,
It's just off-putting. Yeah. Really off-putting.
It's like, oh, I wouldn't want that to be me.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Just a weird old film. Like just a film that certainly has a vibe, has an aesthetic, and has like enough, because like it's very obvious what the film is taking the piss out of. Like you don't have to read that deeply into it.
It's not like a Keeping Up with the Joneses kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like just like even the title Greener Grass. It's not like the grass is greener kind of thing where it's about one woman trying to one up, her neighbor or whatever. It's more like just the like it's like the idea like the greener grass. You just think like the lawn. It's not. It's more just the actual thing itself. It's not about the competition between them. It's just more the fact that the broader kind of the scheme at work, like how these people just kind of operate.
Yeah.
Rather than a specific story about Jill versus Lisa, or something simple like that, which has already been done like many times before. It's a trope. This is more of a play on the trope. Even the title's kind of a play on the trope.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm only after remembering now as well. This the bit where like she comes back home, and the killer is in her house, but the killer isn't trying to kill her. The killer has just taken over her life. And it's just like, get out of my house. And it's like, this is my house. Like, no, this is my house.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm making breakfast. Or no, I'm making dinner. And just like, you're making eggs for dinner? And it's like, that's like a complete, like, that's a no-no. You have the eggs are for breakfast.
Yeah.
Like, even that the killer can't get into the modus apparatus of like how this place works.
Mm-hmm.
There's just constant stuff like that. Constantly throughout the film. There's also the really funny like ads in the film. Like, what is that the baby food that isn't made by machines. It's just food that's eaten by other moms that is then spat into tubes, and then you give that to your child. And it's like machine or mom's better than machines or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You have the Bob, who is Lisa's son, who is the biggest little shit ever. Watches like 15 minutes of Kids with Knives, which is like some TV show in this world. And Lisa freaks at Bob because Bob wasn't paying attention. He's like, hey, Bob is watching Kids with Knives. And then he stands up, he's like, fuck you, ma'am, I'm whatever. And it's from that point on, he's a little shit. Like, it's just like the influence, like the pure influence of media on the child is like that suburban mom fear that that's what would happen. There's just like in every scene, everything that the film is doing is taking the piss or like a complete satire on suburbia. And as you said, even like the title itself it's like the entire film is a satire on suburbia, but it's even a satire on the trope of a satire of being about suburbia. Weird old film, like
Strange
weird film.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a film that like
absurd.
Yeah, it's pure absurd film. I actually like really enjoyed the film, even though like I wasn't paying the most attention to the film because it was like, you know, it's one of those films where like you didn't have to 100% focus on in order to get what the film was getting at. Yeah. But it is like a good film.
The message is very, you know, it's there it's in the title, it's there from the beginning, you know, but it plays itself out very well. You know, it sees its message out to the end.
Yeah, decent now film.
Absolutely. Now for my recommended film for the next episode will be Gates of Heaven by Errol Morris, 1978 documentary about a pet cemetery, which it's apparently not as dark as it seems. You know, it's not Pet Cemetery. It's about people who run a pet cemetery. It's about pets passing away, but it's not supposed to be depressing. I don't want it to be depressing. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say my dog's pretty old. I hope he doesn't die in the meantime.
No, please God, no.
Nah, Sam at least has another month, and we're okay.
Sam's a sturdy old man. He's got it. He's got this.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a good film. So let's go with that.
That sounds, I'm not going to say banging.
Heavenly.
I just realized, Mark, our fucking intros have been, you're doing the intros the next episode to fix this. They have worked in the way where whoever's recommended film it was did the intro.
Yeah.
But because we had the guest on last week, it's after fucking it up.
Okay, yeah.
So you're introducing next week.
You just don't want to do the intro next week.
No, I don't do the intro. I want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, grand.
Okay, grand. We'll talk to you, lads.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Good night. God bless.
Bye.